What's going on, everybody? This is our first attempt at a new series. We're going to try something a little different here. It's kind of setting a spotlight on some people that aren't necessarily super well known, in my opinion. Or maybe they are, and I just didn't know about them. But the series is going to try to cover some people that I've run into that I think are nice or particularly good at the game that I had literally never heard of before. And I think they need a little bit more of a shout out. They're going to be all over the board on, their rank on Int Ladder or whatever, but they're all pretty good. So first up today is Noahface. He's from AIMA, ranks currently Gold Renown. His factions of preferred play are Greenskins, Dark Elves, Lizardmen, and Chaos. We can talk about the strengths and weaknesses a little bit, but the overview of them is unique builds and skirmish cav play, and I have a suggestion to potentially help them improve. If you are wondering, Human Boy, who the hell are you to tell anybody what they can do better? You're a piece of shit. Well, one, I like to think I'm decently good at the game. Two, it's pretty easy to tell someone what they should do better. And it's relatively hard to actually make that change. And three, I've watched like a million replays of actually good players like Hadries and Bobman, so it doesn't, I can see what they do and go, huh, that works, and then watch someone else's replay and tell them what they should be doing. So, we're not casting these replays as replays, we're just pointing out what the player does well and maybe could do better. And you can see here, when I mentioned good skirmish cav play, Pterodons are kind of like flying skirmish cav, and see how spread out Noahface keeps them? That's because the enemy Beastman player could have Traitorkin. Looking around, what's their caster actually? Beasts? Okay, it's Flock of Doom and Manticore. But if they had Traitorkin, or I guess even Flock of Doom, you don't really want to be clumped up. And it is very easy. As you can see, the other player, I think it's actually Hadries, has all of his skirmish cav in one big clump. I know I do that too, but it actually does make them much easier to snipe out and much less effective as skirmish cav. Skirmish cav's entire job is to harass the enemy across the board, not really to focus down targets that well. So you see Noahface has a good handle on that. On that, this is a pretty standard push build from the Beastmen, so I'm going to fast forward a little bit as they get up into position. There are Temple Guard and Saurus waiting for them. Pterodons are usually a pretty good play in this matchup. There are two solar engines just firing out, trying to harass the chariots on their way in, but Hadrius is taking his time, doesn't want to overextend with anything and get caught out. Skirmish cav here do get netted down, and then you can see some solar engines coming in, so that's an example of what Noahface isn't doing with skirmish cav and why his are faring a lot better than maybe otherwise would be thought to. Now, coming up with the assets for target priority in the other games, it'll be a little more obvious what I'm talking about, but Mazdamundi does overextend here and takes a lot of damage, but again, there's another game where I'll point out what I mean there. This is mostly just a good example of what Noahface does well. Skirmish cav is all done great. A lot of damage has already happened to the Beastmen before the fight even started, and now it is a bit of a bump and grind. As, again, I'm not really casting this replay for the replay's sake, I'm just reviewing the players. I am going to hit ×3 as we just get a big single entity bump. Bump, 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 and eventually the Lizardmen will come out on top, I believe. But, yes. I do want to make sure I get to the end, just in case I got it wrong about who won this, but I think Noahface did. Yeah, Beastmen are out of ammo, and that is it. So. And it was Hadries. So, good example there. Now, where's Noahface 2? Noahface 2 has something I really want to cover. When I was looking at that asset priority. While we load up, we'll pull that back up. You can see in the suggestions, it's asset priority. This game has a big one. So I watched 3 of his replays, and also, I don't know, I've played against him a few times, seen him in a couple other events, so maybe that. But he does start a good approach. He gets a good wrap surround going on. Grom is behind some rocks. Good play, good play. Skirmish cav with a bit of Gorkle Fix-It do take out a ton of those Outriders grenade launchers. Like, that's a lot of value considering what his Spider Riders took in return, so that's very good. But, yeah, Skirmish cav, Orc Boar Boys are kind of getting caught up on these rocks. Unfortunately, they're shooting the rocks, but that's more of a thing of the map than the player. But you can see I'm going to put this on ×2 speed. Grom the Paunch gets caught by Karl Franz and some horsemen, and he doesn't have orders to leave, because he definitely could leave. It's much more that the micro is going towards these flanking units, which is good in its own right, but Grom the Paunch does get sniped out and dies. From there, you can see the skirmish cav is very much on top of the Outriders with grenade launchers, avoiding Karl Franz as best they can. Then when they do get compromised, some Orc Boar Boys are going to come in and help them out. Greenskins win the frontline fight, so a lot of just like, it's very spread out, and yet this player is able to keep several different things moving at the same time. Fighting without a Lord is very tricky, but pull out even a close victory, not even like a Pyrrhic victory, so it was very good. And again, skirmish cav play was good. This build's more standard than some of their other ones. I do like the Orc Boys. Orc Boar Boy Biggins I usually don't like, but I mean, he made them work. And then in the third and final replay, I do try to keep these videos short because I know nobody likes to sit around and do same shit all day. This is more of the unconventional builds I was talking about. Chaos vs. Chaos Beard and taking the Dragon Lord, which is a little interesting. I mean, it's new. Other than that, some more skirmish cav as we've seen. Chaos Knights with lances. So why I think unique builds are an asset is if you play just the meta is the most effective way, but also if people expect the meta, they could build something like a very specific counter build to just fight the meta. And having other things in your pocket is a good asset. You can see the skirmish cav are outperforming his opponent here, doing very well. Now this is a good example of when I say asset priority, and it's not just like mistakes. It's because I don't think Noahface makes as many mistakes with individual units. I think, and they can correct me, but this is just my opinion on watching their replays. They seem to value every unit the same, and that's not true. Like, this Chaos Lord taking this much damage isn't fine. Taking way too much damage, being way too aggressive with them as they're aggressive with their skirmish cav. But it just, like, that would be a decent play if that thing was worth, like, 500 gold and that it could take all this damage, but it can't. That's a high priority asset. As we saw with Ground the Paunch, it was like, throw him into a situation where if he gets caught, he's going to die, and the risk isn't worth it, in my opinion. We kind of saw that with Mazda Mundi in the first game, and we're seeing it now with this Chaos Sorcerer Lord, so that would be one thing of improvement for Noahface, is giving units different values and playing with them accordingly. But overall, really good stuff. And they're currently gold renown. I probably expect to see them getting higher with the more games played, and I surely hope to see them in Warhammer 3. Alright, so that's that. I will fast forward this, but they do win out skirmishing the enemy player. They form them into a blob pretty quickly, then get some nice breath attacks, and the Chaos Sorcerer Lord does survive through the rest of this combat. A lot of bumping and grinding and skirmish cav and cycle charging, but eventually Noahface will be victorious. Alright. If you see them out on the Ent ladder or in quick battles, say hi for me. I hope you had a good time here today. And if you think of someone that you think is good in the community but is underrated. Now this isn't... I'm not trying to find the best players. I just think that they are people you should know about, right? Feel free to DM me. If you DM me someone, it doesn't mean I'm automatically going to cover them, but the premise of this is that these people are underrated, so I might also be underrating them. Okay, goodbye.